You guys can decide, do you want to make another sweet dessert cookie bar type thing? Do you want to do an appetizer or a main entree? Or maybe you think, oh, I've always wanted to know how to make blank. Cakes from scratch. But remember, we have to get it in our class period, so it has to be prepared, eaten and cleaned up all within about 48 minutes. My fourth hour narrowed it down to something sweet, so they recipe researched from there. Do you want to narrow it down to a category, or do you want to just get out your computers, find 2 recipes that you would like to prepare tomorrow, then share them with the class, and then we'll narrow it down to 2 from there?
Well, the favorite project we did was during Christmas time, and we were making sugar cookies, and those things are the bomb. And when we were making the cookies, we get to do kind of whatever frosting we want, or what kind of cookie batter we want to use. And it was just overall probably my favorite one, because it's probably good either way.
My favorite was baking chocolate chip cookies, and I would recommend this class because it's easy and fun.
My favorite project in this class is when we made our own pasta, because me and John made chicken Alfredo, and I would recommend this class because you get to eat.
Foods class, we try to turn you into not a master chef, but just somebody who is comfortable being in the kitchen and cooking different things. We make anything from, we made a beef stew, to caramel rolls, to cookies. We try to do lots of different pasta dishes and things like that as well. I would recommend the class because, first of all, everybody needs to know how to cook, because someday you're not going to have your mom cooking for you. And second of all, you get to eat. It's better than that during school, right?
The reason today that we're going to the Good Sam Center is that I think that these great, bright, contemporary issue students need to find out what life was like for people much older than they are. Find out where they went shopping, what kind of banking did they do, did they have meals at home more often than we do today, and then just to try to understand the importance of making a relationship with the elderly. I thought the students in contemporary issues needed to have more exposure, more of a chance to speak to the elderly. So that's why I set up for us to go to Forest Plaza. There they did the same type of questioning as was done at the Good Sam Center. The students enjoy it, and the residents really seem to enjoy it. And I'm hoping that, as I said before, that this will bridge the gap between young people and the elderly, and we can see the value of both age groups and reach some kind of connection.
Well, I work at Good Samaritan Nursing Home, so going to Forest Plaza and the Good Sam Center was just another day at work, and I always enjoy going to see the residents at both places and to spend time with them a little bit.
The most memorable part of the Good Sam experience was learning what their past was and how they used to do stuff differently from us.
When I went to the nursing home, I met a woman named Betty and learned that she went to college and she got a 4-year degree in the early 1900s, which was pretty rare back then. And she became a dietitian for a local hospital. And she worked in a segregated hospital back when equal rights still weren't a thing yet. And she said the biggest thing that she saw change in our times was equal rights and how everything leveled out to how it is today. And that's what I enjoyed most, is seeing Betty and learning all the things that she'd seen throughout her lifetime.
This is some examples of one of our final projects for Photoshop class. These particular projects were to create a promotional poster for our spring play. Photoshop class, we have done work with manipulating images, learning how to work with layers, text, and we've done multiple images of ourselves, among a few other projects.
Okay, so for entrepreneurship class, I wanted to design a project that would give the kids a chance to put into action what they're learning. It was a little bit backwards. We kind of dove right into it versus learning about the business first. So we learned about setting up a business as we were developing this product. So one of the first things we did was a cost analysis sheet. They had to figure out what each of these items cost. And some of the harder things to do would be, you know, for an example, this was a 1x6 piece of pine wood that we cut in half, or not quite half. It was, you know, just a certain width, and we could use the other half for the other side. But we had to figure out: should we use a 1x6? Should we use a 1x8? Should we use a 1x4? And use two pieces. You know, what length do we need? So we figured it out that you could use a 1x6, 12 feet long, and that would make one whole set of these, which is kind of nice. So they had to figure out how much that piece of wood cost that would go into the set. A little bit more difficult thing was the sheet of plywood that was 4x8. You know, we could make around, I think it was like 96 of these on one sheet. So they had to figure out what it cost for each set. So the whole 4x8 sheet might have cost $20, but each one of these would have been a lot less. So the kids really got to figure out what goes into the actual cost of a product, and then we could figure out you know, how much to mark it up and things like that. Paint was another issue. You know, the surface area of the paint. You know, how much paint did we need? And that was tough because I think one of the first groups that came through said that a set of these were going to cost like $100 because they were using a gallon of paint, a gallon of red, a gallon of green, and a gallon of blue on each set. So, you know, it's a learning process, and that's the goal of this project, is to get them to figure this out. Because if you could break down cost of your business in the future, you know, that's what you're going to need to do to be successful. So the kids really kind of took ownership. My dad had a prototype when he was teaching this in high school. He had a sample set like this, so we had something to go off of. It wasn't like we just created this by ourselves. But the girls, Angela and Brittany, they did a nice job of adding the bows to it. They did all the bows for every single one, and the guys did a lot of the cutting and painting. They also did the painting here, which they thought added a really nice touch as well. So. Believe it or not, the hardest thing to find out of this whole project is the lights. You know, first we went online to try to find lights, but that was the most expensive part. It was about $2, or I think it was $3.50 for every one of these. So, you know, you're looking at $10.50 of the expense of this project just for the lights, which really add the touch. So we experimented with different things. Tea lights we experimented with, and thank goodness Menards had a nice little sale before Christmas where we could buy a set of these for under $2, which really increased our profit margin at the bottom dollar when we sold these. No, it was just a fun project because, you know, we learned about setting up a business, we learned about marketing, we learned about production management. We learned about order fulfillment, you know, how to get these out to the customers. We did do a test study, so we made 5 prototypes. We put them out in the community and took suggestions on them. We did end up changing the bow. We had a different color bow, and one suggestion came back that said that burlap is in. And so we looked at making burlap bows, and that's where we went from.
Alright, so the candles that we made first trimester in entrepreneurship class, I don't really know how long it took. I think it went into second trimester a little bit, but it did take some time, and everyone did have to do something on their own, whether it was making the flames for the candles or cutting them out or putting them together or painting them. But we did have to figure out how much money it was going to cost and what was the lowest price we could get them at, and then figure out what we can sell them for. We were at football games, handing out flyers and advertising.
I think the biggest thing that's great about entrepreneurship as the class is you get to do hands-on things where you'll learn both sides. So you can learn like the business part and the numbers and like in practice and how you're going to go about things. And then you get the hands-on approach, so you really understand what what it's like to put your own work into this, and so you see both sides of what needs to get done.
Today's project with the kids, we're learning about force. So they're looking at the amount of force it takes to move a balloon 3 meters approximately. They're going to have to know the rate of acceleration and the mass. And they're looking at how mass affects that balloon too, because after a couple trials without any weight on the balloon, they're going to add some weight to it by taping nuts to it, and then seeing the acceleration affected by mass and their time and their distance. So they'll have to get all their data today and then perform some calculations, and then actually look at it and analyze and conclude from their data that they have.
What are you guys doing here at this table, Riley?
A balloon thingamajigger.
Can you explain the project?
It's supposed to fly across the chairs.
From those 2 chairs?
Yep.
So the balloon will be taped to this with some nuts, I think. Where are they? On the table. Oh. They're over here somewhere. And Spencer, give us the nuts. Yeah, those ones. And then you'll let go of the balloon, and all the air will be out there, and then it will come across like that. So that's pretty much it. Come on, Spencer, let's go.
Isn't that a centimeter inch?
38.
That's it. Measure a time. So keep timing as long as it keeps moving, and then we have to measure the distance.
1.78 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Well, that failed. You didn't even make it. 2, 1, go. 0.90.